On January 13, 1992, Occah Seapaul became the first woman elected Speaker of the House of Representatives in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. It was a role she looked forward to fulfilling.
I was quite excited about what the future held, and it was a challenge, and I took up the challenge.
However, by 1995, the parliamentary life of Trinidad and Tobago would forever change, and Speaker Seapaul would be in the center of a political crisis.
I would say it was definitely not called for, because I did nothing wrong, nothing to warrant that kind of action or behavior.
I crossed the floor, I went on the other side because I was totally disenchanted with the way things were handled.
She had reached a point where no matter what points we raised or we attempted to raise, she was just not listening.
There is a perception that a speaker that is politically appointed is one who will really give in largely to what the government wants.
Whether it was a figment of Mr. Manning's imagination that the speaker was against him, or whether that was in fact so, the fact is that what do you do now when you find you're in the government and you want a compliant speaker?
On August 4th, 1995, the PNM government led by Patrick Manning declared a limited state of emergency. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Occah Seapaul, was placed under house arrest. The government's intent was to replace Occah Seapaul as Speaker of the House after she refused the Prime Minister's request for her to resign.
Because there was absolutely no need for a state of emergency or house arrest. Whatever they wanted to accomplish could have been accomplished otherwise.
The government had gotten wind that the Speaker, who was appointed as a result of government votes, had formed some kind of alliance with the opposition to suspend persons from the government benches enough to allow the government to be defeated if a motion was brought. As a result of that, the government decided it was dangerous to it, or unhealthy to its majority, if we continued to hold Parliament while Occah Seapaul was in the chair.
I was not happy at all with the way the situation was handled. I think it was an excessive exercise of authority on the part of Patrick Manning as the Prime Minister then. And at the cabinet meeting, which was held at his residence, where he informed the cabinet that he was going to take the action to put the Speaker under house arrest, I left the meeting and I told him, "You will live to regret this." It so happened he lost the election as a result of it, because there was a lot of turbulence thereafter.
But was the course of action taken by the government, a state of emergency and house arrest of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, necessary?
She became very defiant, and that is the device by which the government settled on to get rid of her, which is to declare a state of emergency, put her under house arrest. She had to stay there and then go to the Parliament and get the Parliament to vote for somebody, her removal and somebody else, right? Because she would not entertain the motion, right? She would not entertain a motion that allowed the party, the majority party, to remove her. So they had to use a device to keep her out of the Parliament, and that's the house arrest was about that.
I think it was too drastic a kind of response to what was happening. But it was simply about government not getting its way that led us down that road. It was government not getting its way, the Speaker being very adamant and standing her ground, the support that she was garnering from the opposition, from opposition constituents.
The role and expectations of the Speaker of the House of Representatives had been brought into question.
You tend to get speakers, of course, who are in line with the government, the party that has won the majority seats is not going to put somebody, as long as this is the system by which a speaker is selected, they're not going to bring somebody who is at odds with them. So they put Oka, and then for whatever reasons, got the impression that she was a speaker who was not going along with their program, and they wanted her to be removed.
The political impact of the state of emergency and house arrest of Speaker Occah Seapaul would ultimately be felt in November 1995.
The PNM paid a heavy price for it. After I had left the cabinet and I went across to the other floor, I precipitated a general election in which they lost. And that's how the 17-17 coup came about.
What happened with Oka was one of the possible outcomes that could occur in the course in having an office that is not fully independent.
Parliamentary reform is something that we require, is one of the things that we learned from this whole issue of the speaker having been put under house of arrest and the whole issue of the state of emergency being called. It was one that left a bitter taste in the mouths of many, and therefore it is something that would have undermined the ability of the then government to have been able to run the country in the way it needed to, and therefore we need to find a mechanism that will ensure that we don't have repeat performance.